and how they're able to achieve efficiencies in production to put some downward pressure on price and incentivize mass adoption. And we do that as well, but we also pay attention to a little known artifact in the world of economics called economies of scope. Maybe not little known to economists, but it's usually that blurb or that paragraph from your MBA or from your economics college course that you forgot about. And it actually matters a lot to us. And so today I hope to explain why that's important. Okay. Yeah, so here's a recent image that we took over French Polynesia. You know, no satellite presentation is complete without a nice, pretty picture of the Earth. But there on the screen, you know, our ambition and our goal is to create a live catalog of everything on the Earth. And I'm going to speak more into detail that in a couple slides with some new language that you may not have heard before. Yeah, so before I dive deeply into economies of scale and economies of scope, I'd like to talk a little bit about marginal cost and opportunity cost to continue with the economics theme. So today, some of the large players in the market, you know, they have single purpose, you know, and purpose-built satellites that do one thing and do it very, very well. And that's good, and that business model works for them. But there's an opportunity cost to that. And it lends itself to being to receive pressure from anchor customers. So if you have one satellite and you're going to dedicate that, or yeah, if you have one satellite or a couple satellites and you dedicate that a significant amount of capacity to one customer, that becomes an anchor customer that can have a disproportionate impact on your business model or affect your business models in ways that you may not be able to control. And so what we've done is we've kind of turned that on its head. We're going to produce a lot of satellites and not really rely on that anchor customer, and then be able to serve the masses. So if you're imaging in one part of the world, it can be utilized by many different governments, many different companies, many different NGOs, and it's not exclusive to one particular customer. And we can do that through zero marginal cost. So when we scale our constellation, as we scale our constellation, we're getting closer and closer to zero marginal cost. So we're producing satellites very cheaply, launching them into orbit, and they're all going to be scanning the Earth, and they're going to be essentially the commoditization of satellite imagery. And so just to get in a little bit to the economics or economies of scope. So what economies, I'll get into economies of scale, right? So economies of scale say that if you increase production, your unit economics or your cost to produce your widget goes down. Economies of scope is a bit of a paradox in that it says that the total cost of production, when it decreases when there's an increase in the variety of goods that's produced. And you may think, hey, how can that be? Well, what it means is that the three capabilities that we have inherent in our satellites on orbit are multispectral imagery, hyperspectral imagery, and full motion video. And if we were to build those as single purpose satellites, we'd have to launch a hyperspectral satellite, a multispectral satellite, and a full motion video satellite. And you're not achieving economies of scope when you do that. So essentially what we're doing is we're putting multiple different ways to conduct Earth observation on one satellite through a couple payloads and a third optional payload to achieve economies of scope. And that way, you know, we're able to pivot to market demand or be able to satisfy different variations of market demand. We know that in the security realm, they're very interested in full motion video or being able to dwell over a particular place on the Earth for over a minute. The scientific and the agriculture and the mining markets and communities, they're interested in hyperspectral. The demand signals are growing there. So we can then stop imaging in multispectral with a satellite or 4 or 5 and start imaging in hyperspectral. And we're able to do that without launching new satellites for that very reason. So, you know, it's a great place to be, and it's a model that works for us. And then the new kind of cool thing that Spiral Blue's taking advantage of is our third and optional payload bay. So with every satellite that we launch, we have an option to fill an additional payload bay with new technology. And you see there on the right that our development cycles are 9 months. So in 9 months, we can develop new technology and test it on orbit. And if we have a constellation of 4, 6, or 10 satellites, we could test, theoretically, 10 different new technologies every launch, which is, crazy. It's mind-blowing, but we could do that. And so that's kind of the one of the disruptive ways that we've entered the market. And so this slide just goes into a bit more detail around the capabilities of the different modalities. The multispectral is native 99 centimeters, so we don't need to do anything to the image to have sub-meter multispectral resolution. The hyperspectral sensor images in 25-meter resolution and 29 different bands. As I alluded to earlier, our full motion video can dwell over a single place on Earth in a 5 kilometer by 5 kilometer frame for up to 60 seconds at 1 meter, again, native resolution. And then our not in terms of the economies of scope, but our business models are flexible, right? If you just want to be an API forward company, we can do business with you. If you're an OEM provider that just needs imagery as a throughput, we're happy to satisfy that. And then when you get up to at the governmental level, we can do space as a service. We can even do constellation as a service if that's a necessity of yours. And if I just go back quickly to the session ends very quickly. Okay, I'll speed up.
Sorry, Thomas. We've just had a bit of a technical difficulty. I'm probably gonna have to stop the session and then re-invite you back to the stage.
Okay. All right.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that.
Go ahead. Okay. Can I just get a thumbs up that everybody can hear me and see the screen? Yep. Okay, good. All right. So just to get a little bit more intimate and to further the economies of scope discussion is that even within the different modalities that we have, we can also achieve a variety of different ways that we collect the Earth. So you'll see here from the multispectral sensor that we can also do spotlight collections, tiles, stripes, and oblique stripes. And we can even do extended, incredibly long stripes as well, which is again, it's just another advantage that we can take, another thing that we can take advantage of with the modalities that we have on orbit. Kind of advancing that economies of scope discussion. And then here's just a teaser of some of the things that we can do with the hosted payload. In the press release, Taoufik talks about, doing edge computing, edge processing. At the edge, we can also test thermal infrared on orbit. We can do Internet of Things sensors. We've been approached by companies to test some pretty novel capabilities. We've even been approached to see if we can test a green laser on orbit for high fidelity bathymetry monitoring in coastal areas. But I don't think we're going to do green lasers anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, when you kind of open this up to the market, you hear a lot of new and unique ideas around what people want to test in space. So it's been enlightening to be a part of those discussions. And then, I'm just going to close out with the last couple slides here. Just to expound upon what Taoufik said is the addressable market is huge, and satellite imagery shouldn't be reserved for the few. It should be commoditized for the masses if that's a possibility. To give everyone the data they need when they need it to make the right decisions that they need, not just for themselves or for-profit companies, but for the benefit of mankind. For the benefit of human safety, human security, and we believe that we have the means and the business model to achieve that. And this last slide's just kind of demonstrating how we're going to get there. What we're seeing now. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, just being invited back to the stage for the Q&A.
Okay. So what we're seeing now is, we're seeing different and new markets being unlocked with the price pressure down on satellite imagery. We're seeing, the gaming industry want to build a metaverse using brand new imagery every single day and ingesting it into the Unreal Engine and other engines. We're seeing industries that you never even thought of, right? Like Maybelline and different makeup companies want to monitor, or not just monitor the parking lots, but understand what automobiles are in the parking lot to then do marketing campaigns around people that drive minivans at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So, I mean, we're seeing, all different kinds of things being unlocked as there's downward price pressure on satellite imagery. And then, what I think is going to occur organically is a geospatial neural network. So whenever you open up imagery at low prices to the masses and people start ingesting imagery on platforms, I think we'll see these geospatial neural networks perform global analytics at scale or segmented analytics at a global scale. And then again, be able to provide those analytics to multiple different industries and into markets that we're not even thinking of right now. All right, and with that, I have the obligatory cool slide with a recent false color composite that we did for Mexico. So yeah, and with that concludes my briefing. Happy to take some Q&A.
Brilliant. Can we have a round of applause for Thomas? Very, very informative, very exciting. And I'm happy to say as well that Satellogic is going public. Obviously, I'm not the investment relations manager, so feel free to don't sue me. But yeah, you'll be able to buy their stock. So exciting times in the space industry and in Earth observation. I think, I guess that's, we haven't had any questions just yet. I think people are still thinking about things. But I guess that might be an interesting point to start with. How has that, going public sort of started to change how you guys are approaching the business now?
I guess I would characterize it as there's been some, we've hired to account for that. Like we have a new head of investor relations. We're continuing with our business plan of growing the company. We're meeting all of our targets in terms of, firming up supply chain, finalizing launch details. And we're just, we're marching toward it. We've recently, filed with the SEC our F4 documentation. So that's out there for the public to consume. And then I would, I'm not allowed to make any forward-looking statements. So I would just defer everyone to the F4 document that's on the SEC's website. But needless to say, we're all excited, and we're looking forward to, being a publicly traded company and continuing with the business plan.
Brilliant. We've got a couple of questions coming in from James, my CTO. What is the ultimate size of constellation that you want to operate?
Yeah, I think whenever you get above 120, then you don't have to really slew all that much, right? And a lot of folks, if you're imaging this, right, then you're not imaging this. And when you get to around that sweet spot of around 120 with the swath width that we're aiming, we'll reduce that opportunity cost. We'll be imaging the Earth at a regular cadence, if not bi-weekly, weekly world remaps or weekly global coverage of the landmass of the Earth. And that's kind of the sweet spot, I think. At 300, you're approaching daily remaps of the entire Earth.
Yes, it's very non-linear. You'd think you'd need 7 times more satellites to go from weekly to daily, but I guess not.
No, because you can change the formation of the fleet, right? You can do slightly mid-inclination orbit, polar orbits, slightly off polar orbits. So, yeah. Yeah,
great, great. More of a technical question. Might have to pass this on to if any technical or team members are in the audience today. What is the current external payload capability available for experimentation? Power, space, and weight.
Space and weight. Let's see. Do I have those details? I tell you what. I will definitely get that. I can link up with you after this. Who asked that question?
Yes, that was actually one of our junior engineers. Okay. So I think he's thinking about putting up something of his own.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So we can probably answer that question for him.
As long as it's not green lasers, I can definitively say green lasers is a no. Okay. But anything else, it's worth a discussion.
Yeah, great. Next question is from Christopher Jansen from GPC Electronics. With so many new companies entering this space, how do you differentiate to win customers?
Sure. I think just, on its face and just outright as price, we're able to pass, we're entirely vertically integrated. So, we do everything, including machining some of the pieces for the satellite, like 40 patents and several pending patents on the optical payload. So we're able to pass on those cost savings to the customer. And then that's number one in terms of differentiation. I would say number two is image quality at the resolution class that we offer it. So there was an independent analysis done, conducted by the U.S. government, that awarded Satellogic the gold medal in terms of global image quality for multispectral imagery. So image quality is the differentiator. This economies of scope, like having the customer say, you know what, I don't want to collect this in multispectral today. I want to collect it in hyperspectral, and being able to accommodate that. Or saying, hey, I want to analyze traffic patterns around midday, and how do I alleviate the traffic burden in city X? So I want full motion video over the course of a week over the city. We can do that. Like, we don't have to launch new satellites to do that. And then we're firmly committed to an agile aerospace type of engineering, right? So we can push software patches up to the satellite to accommodate that. So we can take agile development, from the cube to the CubeSat. I'm going to trademark that, but we can do that. Yeah.
Great. And that really is, I think that is really the key. We're seeing, SpaceX looking to drop launch costs quite considerably. You can launch 200-kilogram satellite now for $1 million or thereabouts. So it really is a question of, why are satellites of that class costing $10 or $50 million? We need to find a way to build them cheaper, and it sounds like Satellogic has found a way to do that. So that's really great. Next question is from James, again, my CTO. How much has the company grown since you've been there? What were some of the major changes that you've seen?
Yeah, I'd say it's grown by about 100 since I've joined. And then, what are some of the major changes? I would say maybe not extreme growth, but in terms of maturity. But I would say the speed of maturation around product development. So to go from a company that commissioned the satellites that they launched in November, in late January, early February, and then having an entire imagery production factory ready and built to deliver to the public, on April 1st, that's insane, right? That's just that kind of stuff doesn't happen. And I think it happened because we don't know any better, right? We're too young to know that that's a huge predicament. But we've been able to do that. And there's just some remarkable talent, in the company. And I love it. Like it's been amazing to watch.
Yeah, brilliant. And question from our business development manager, Paul. Are you looking at developing new satellite buses, or are you happy with the current design and now you've got a production line going?
Yeah, so good. That's a good question. We do love the satellite that we have right now, but we're looking for the next gen, right? There will be a next gen satellite. I don't think I'm allowed to say anything about it, but yeah, there will definitely be a next generation satellite that'll offer some better tech, right? Just like the prototypes were launched from 2013 to 2019 to perfect the tech for the bus that you see today. We've been testing things on orbit ever since November, with every launch, and so you'll see the fruits of that, or the experiments from that come to fruition with the next generation design.
Yeah, I guess this is maybe related to that question. Do you think the company might see itself, again, making forward-looking statements is challenging, of course. Do you see the company potentially going for larger satellites as launch costs come down?
I think speaking for the industry writ large, right, as launch costs come down, as cost to build comes down, as the supply chain grows, right, because the supply chain's growing as well. Like the people that are building the components, there's more of those businesses popping up as well, not just people focused on the analytics and the end product. The entire supply chain is growing. So if there's competition in the supply chain, then supply costs will come down. So yeah, so I think we'll see just organically folks put, more and better technology on orbit. And if that happens to mean a bigger bus, then yeah, I think we'll see that. I think that's a fair assessment for the industry writ large.
Yeah, I think with if higher resolution is necessary, surely we need larger satellites. I don't think anyone's cracked that yet. Achieving higher I guess you could come down lower, and that is an approach that Satellogic is taking. To be fair, so we'll see how it goes. I think that was the last question. I can't think of any questions at the moment. But thanks, Thomas. Very, very exciting stuff at Satellogic happening, and we're looking forward to working with you guys. And actually, we do have one last question. We'll make this the last question.
All right.
From Julian. Are you able to use previous clients' use cases as examples for previous clients or for prospective clients?
Previous clients' use cases for prospective clients. I'm always happy to say, what worked for someone, right? To explain to someone what worked well for them, and if it may work for you, or if your use case has some sort of uniqueness to it that hasn't been contemplated, to work through the customer, through that problem. But if we were to take an example, right, of let's say Doctors Without Borders, right? Doctors Without Borders wants to map and monitor this rare disease that eats away the bottom of a person's jaw. And that's popping up in some places in Africa. And they want to map that. They want to figure out, like, where did it start? How is it spread? And things of that. And then if we're approached by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I would certainly explain to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, this is what worked for MSF. And this is how I would go about, monitoring this from space.
Yeah. Brilliant. All right. There is one more question. Do you still have a bit more time?
I do. Yeah.
All right. So from Charlie, our software developer, as satellite and launch costs come down, do you have a plan to compete once, quote unquote, everyone has hundreds of EO satellites in orbit?
Well, I think the industry writ large is in a wonderful place. And this is what I tell folks that are looking to invest in the industry, is that everywhere I go, everyone I talk to, it's very clear that supply cannot meet demand. So I think Satellogic, along with all of our competitors, will be successful, just simply because there is just not enough imagery to satisfy global demand. So Planet will be very successful. Black Sky will be very successful. Maxar and Airbus will continue to be successful because just can't meet it right now. There's not enough imagery to go around to satisfy everyone's appetite for it. And I think what we'll see is, again, as the cost comes down, like as there's downward pressure on the price per square kilometer, and we unlock new use cases, and you make the pie, right? You make the pie bigger. And when the pie gets bigger, supply is only going to go up. And then what do, right? So I don't think that's really a concern of anyone right now in the industry. Like, am I going to get out competed for this or that or whatnot? Or because, everyone's in a good position to capture their fair share of the market.
Yeah, I think really we have to look at the fact that there are essentially 7.8 billion customers of this data.
Right. Exactly.
It's not just Defense Organization X and company Y. It's a massive opportunity. So I definitely agree with that. And I think let's leave things there. Thanks, Thomas. I'll hand it over to Gavin to finalize.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for being a part of this, Thomas. And I hope everyone really enjoyed today's event. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and we're really, really glad to have someone like you to join us back again as we move forward. So our next event will be at the Asia Pacific Space Agency Forum 27 with that JAXA will be hosting. And we've actually invited a panel of our speakers. So we've invited Sebastian Chowie, we've invited Aravind from Tomorrow.io, and we've also invited Venkat from LatConnect 60.
And cool names.
Yes, very, very cool. And if you guys are interested, we've got the registration open. I'll share the screen for what's happening with that. Give me 1 second. Here we go. And hopefully everyone can see that. And if you want to register, you can register here below in the chat. So hopefully everyone can make it to the next one. It's not going to be on the last Wednesday of every of next month. It's going to be on the actual Monday, November 29th. And yeah, hopefully we can meet other people who from Jackson around the world as well as that. So I'll also send in the link in the chat as well. What's going to happen is we'll move back to the lounge. We'll say hi to each other. I think Thomas will be able to join the lounge. So if you have any further questions, feel free to ask him. But thank you so much, everyone. If everyone can have a nice round of applause for Thomas. Thank you so much. All right. I'll see everyone in the lounge.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks again.